Hi, everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today we are talking about simplifying your business, which, let's be honest, when you simplify your business, you're probably going to simplify your life as well. It becomes this snowball effect in the right direction instead of the wrong direction. You know, I remember hearing from Emily Lay, I guess it was a few months ago, and she put something out on Instagram that said, do one small load of laundry a day. It was one of her daily tips on simplifying your life. And I thought, well, that's interesting because I don't do that at all, right? Like, I don't know if you do that, but I wait until my laundry is so piled high that it's just overwhelming altogether, right? It's what I call laundry mountain. It's either laundry mountain of dirty clothes or laundry mountain of clean clothes that need to be folded. Either way, those clothes are not away. They are a mountain on my bed, which then gets transferred to the floor and back and forth until eventually I take care of the thing. I'm like, what a concept. Instead of waiting until your laundry justifies a full load, which is how I've operated for years, you just do a small load a day. Once a day. Once a day, you take all the dirty clothes from the day, all the dirty clothes from the kids, all the dirty rags and towels and rugs and random stuff because you know you've got it, I've got it, and you throw it in the washing machine and you do a small load. And then it never gets overwhelming. It never becomes laundry mountain that you avoid and shuffle between the bed and the floor. Do you do that? Because I really, literally do that. This one idea transformed how I do my laundry. It was that simple. Just one simple tip that has changed how I do laundry, which has simplified my life. Now, that one thing then began to make me think of what other things I could do. Like, what other things could I do that would help me simplify my life and, of course, reduce stress as a result? You know, because let's be honest, stressful and complicated are not things I want in my life right now. I need more simple because complicated and overwhelming are stressful. I need simple. I need easy. And I'd be willing to bet that you do too. Now, Emily Lay is a friend of mine, and she is speaking at our fall Business Boutique event. And we had a great conversation recently, which I'm going to share with you on the podcast and on YouTube in a couple days. So you can watch that or listen to that in whatever format that you want to. And we talk about how to simplify your life. But I want to spend a few minutes talking about how to simplify your business as well. In fact, I want to give you 5 categories. So if you're taking notes, you want to write these down. The first category that you can simplify, this is going to be no surprise to you all, is your paperwork. Now let's have a heart-to-heart moment in my life. In addition to laundry mountain, I also have mail mountain. I have a lot of mountains in my house. Toy mountain, we don't need to go into that. I have mail mountain. This is where I walk in and from the house, from work, and I bring the mail in and I throw it on my desk and I just continue to do that day after day until I have a mountain so high that I cannot see the wall behind it. True story, this happens. And then eventually, at some point, I face it. I face mail mountain and I go through it and I sort it and I create stacks and categories, and these are things to file and these are bills to pay and these are things to respond to and so on. What if we just had permanent stacks? Instead of having mail mountain that, you know, we face once a month and deal with, what if we had a permanent system? This is, as my friend April Perry calls, a command center, where you have permanent places for those things to go. And the moment you walk in, you put them in their places. These are permanent stacks for those things. And it simplifies every aspect of your paperwork and certainly your mail. Or I'm sure you guys probably already know what main categories of paperwork that you deal with in your business. You know what those are. You know what the invoices or orders or bills that you have to pay. If you have documents that you deal with online, you can do this digitally. You can have files and folders where you save things and sort things, and you just simplify. Just simplify the daylights out of your paperwork. It'll take a little work, of course, on the front end. You'll need to set up your system. You'll need to set up your processes and that type of thing. It will be a new normal, a new way to operate. But y'all, the time, the removal of stress, the productivity, the cleanliness and organization that you will reap as a reward from that tiny amount of effort on the front end will be so worth it. It will be so worth it. The second area that I want you to simplify, similarly, is your workspace. When my husband and I were getting married back in 2012, we had a wedding planner that was a friend of mine, and she helped us out. And we started creating the invitation list, and we had a goal for how much we wanted to spend, but our invitation list did not match the budget. And she said, "You're going to need to cut." She said, in fact, the best way to go about it, the most diplomatic way to go about it, would be that you cut 10% from every separate category. So 10% of family, my family and his family, 10% of friends, my friends and his friends, 10% of work people, and so on. And that's how we did it. We just took a number, a percentage, and we cut that amount from our invitation list in order to make our budget. We were paying for our wedding ourselves, and we had to be smart about how we used our money. Now, let's apply this to your workspace. What if you went into your workspace and for real, you cut a percentage of what was there? Let's say 30%. I know that's a big number, but go with me here. If you are already a minimalist, you probably don't need to cut 30%. You don't even have 30%, right? Most of you probably are not minimalists like me. You've got junk and clutter and old papers you don't need and receipts you don't need and art that, let's be honest, you're not gonna keep. You're not keeping every piece of art and craft that your children are making unless you are great, put it in a folder. But approach your workspace this way. Approach your workspace where you go in and you say 30% of what's here is gonna get removed or sorted or stored. Where visually you walk into that space and it is clean and organized and you know where to find things and you actually, believe it or not, want to go there. You want to work there. When you do this to your workspace, you're simplifying your business, but you're also simplifying your energy. I know this sounds silly, but you will enjoy your space more. You will enjoy your work more if you just cut some of the junk out of your workspace. So not only your paperwork, I want you to simplify that and your processes, but also simplify your workspace. Cut 30% of what's there and make it a clean, organized place that you actually want to go. The third area that you can simplify in your business would be your product or service offering menu. Let's talk about this really quickly. If something is complicated to you, it's definitely complicated to your customers. Now, even if it's not complicated to you, if you know this business so well and you know your products and services, there's a chance that you know it so well, which is why it makes sense to you, but it's still complicated to your customers. It still doesn't make sense to them. Less is more. In business, in design, in content, you want to make sure that you are having a very clear path for your customers. And if you have a million options with a million varieties, it's not clear. It's overwhelming. We think the more options, the better, but the more options actually equals more overwhelm. In fact, research shows the more options you give people, the less likely they are to buy. The more options you give people, the lower the conversion rate. So on your homepage, for example, you could say, choose option A, B, C, D, E, F. And you think this is great. People can customize their journey. They can personalize their path or their experience with me. But research shows that's not as effective. In fact, you would be better off choosing two, this or this. Which one do you want? They'll more likely buy and be more likely to convert to buying customers if you actually give them less options. Now, of course, this is a generalization and you need to apply it to your business. So, another example would be purging your closet. You probably do this every spring and fall when you're switching out your clothes and you purge all the spring clothes you didn't wear or all the fall clothes that you didn't wear that were just wasting space, right? What if you do that with your product service offering menu? What if you purge it like you do your closet in the seasons? What if you took out anything on your product and service offering menu that was wasting space, that doesn't sell, that you don't enjoy making, that has a terrible profit margin, that's just a major distraction? You may think, oh, well, one person might want it. No, if they haven't wanted it in 2 years, they don't want it today or tomorrow. It's like that sweater that you thought maybe one day I'll love that sweater. You don't love the sweater. It's got all kinds of fuzzballs on it. If you don't reach for it today and you didn't reach for it for 2 years, you're not going to reach for it this winter. Get rid of the sweater. Give it to Goodwill. Do the same thing with your product and service offering menu. If it hasn't been selling, if it isn't in demand, if it doesn't have a good profit margin, go ahead and take it off the menu. Go ahead and clear that out. You'll leave more space and fewer options, which would be more effective for your customers to actually buy what they want. If something is out of date, if something is irrelevant, if something is not cool anymore, if it's just something you dread dealing with, take it off. It's your business and you can do what you want to. Now let's talk about the fourth area. This is a big one. This is an important one. I want you to simplify your website. Now, this is similar to your product and service offering menu, but you may have that in a lot of places. Your website, probably like your closet and like your office, has some clutter. It has some stuff on it that's just wasting space. It's a distraction. Words that people don't care about, words that confuse or distract or complicate your message. You guys know I love talking about Donald Miller, and he's all about clarity. He says people don't buy the best products and services, they buy those that they understand the quickest. And typically, people understand things quickly when you use fewer words and simpler words, not when you give them 16 paragraphs explaining your life story of how you dreamt up this idea in the first place. They don't care because they're thinking all day, every day, what's in it for me? So you need to be so clear on your website, so concise with your words and your images and your pages and your menus. Everything needs to have a purpose and a point. If it doesn't need to be there. So look at your website. What landing pages are a waste of space? What landing pages or words or images are not the most important thing you want your customer to know or do? If they're not important to you, they need to come off the page. What words are confusing? What words are a distraction that don't drive to your ultimate goal of what you want your website to do for your customers? For example, in speaking, one of the things that I challenge myself to do when I'm writing a talk, so it may be a 45-minute keynote or a 60-minute keynote, I challenge myself to write the one sentence. What's the one thing I want people to remember? What's the one thing I want them to walk away and know? And then everything in that 45 to 60-minute keynote points back to and supports the one sentence. What this does as a speaker is it holds you accountable to stay focused on your goal. If not, you can ramble all day about nothing. You guys have heard those speakers or pastors before that go off on rabbit trails and you're sitting there going, what does this have to do with anything? See, as a speaker, if you know your one sentence, this is the one most important point, and everything else is going to support this, then it really helps you be effective in your communication. Well, your website is a source of communication. That's what it is, right? It's a method for you to communicate with your customers. So you want it to be clean, you want it to be clear, you don't want it to have any clutter. So make it as clear as possible. Your website is a great area to simplify. I love the quote by Albert Einstein where he says, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And isn't that true? Often we ramble on and on with so many words and explanations trying to communicate what we do or what our business is or what our products do. But usually, to be honest, we do that because we don't understand it simply enough. You need to have an elevator pitch. You need to have the ability to communicate what your products and services and business does in a few words. We don't want to ramble. It's just going to hurt our customers' ability to understand what we're doing. So your website is a great place for you to simplify and declutter. And then number 5, and I saved this for last on purpose, is your schedule. I want you to simplify your schedule. Similar to your workspace, what if you approached your schedule, kind of like the wedding planning thing, and you said, 25% of my schedule, I'm going to cut. I'm just going to cut it out. I'm going to find 25% of margin, 25% of my time. I want you to be honest with yourself about what you have to do and what you just think you have to do. Because other than feeding your kids and paying taxes, you don't have to do a lot of the things you think you have to do. And I don't know if any of you listening or watching right now are kind of like me, where we're doers, we're drivers, we're achievers. We love to do all the things and checklists and to-do lists. And we get fulfillment from doing a lot of things, which is great. But a lot of times we hold our feet to the fire and think we have to do all those things. And then we get ourselves to a point of being overwhelmed and tired and busy and burnt out and running ragged. Like, well, I have to do these things. Well, no, you don't. You made that to-do list. You can cut some of it. You made that schedule. You can cut some of it. So what if you simplified your schedule? What if you cut 25% of your schedule and found that time? Instead of trying to do all of the things halfway, what if you picked a few things and did those things really, really well? What if, for example, you stopped working an hour earlier than you normally do, and you got yourself ready in some business professional clothes and went to that community networking event and you felt great and you looked great and you had on makeup and had your hair done instead of running ragged, getting there late, still wearing your baker's cap and icing all over you on your apron? What if you created margin to do the things you want to do and do them really, really well? Wouldn't that be amazing? Stop perpetually running ragged and running late from one thing to the next. Instead, stop and slow down and do less, but do those things better. And I'll be honest, I'm speaking to myself here because I'm so guilty of that. I'm so guilty of clutter in my office and clutter, in my life and clutter in my schedule. And I want to do all the things and they all sound like good things. But the reality is, what I want more than that, what I want more than pleasing people, what I want more than doing everything a little bit okay, is I want excellence. I want to do things really well. I want to give people what they need and serve our audience. And in order to do that, I've got to create some margin in my schedule. If I'm going to really be there for my kids and be all in and have energy and be interested in them, I've got to have rest. I can't go 100 miles an hour and be good at anything. Instead, I have to pick what is the most important and then do those things really well. The older I get and the more tired I get, I want simple. I don't care about having the best or the coolest or the trendiest or the most impressive or the most expensive or the most Pinterest worthy. What I really want is just the simplest. What is going to take the least amount of energy and brain power from me? Because to be honest, with 2 toddlers and a puppy, I don't have much left at the end of the day. I just want simple. When you simplify your business, you'll not only get more done, you'll actually enjoy what you're doing in the process. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you need help protecting your time, I have a free download just for you. It's called 25 Ways to Protect Your Time, and you can get that at the link below.